Why Socialism by Albert Einstein. Is it chief for someone without riz on economic and social vibes to yap about socialism? I think for a bunch of reasons that it is. Let's first hit up the question from a Sigma scientific POV. Might seem like there is no big diff between astronomy and economics. Both gangs try to find some lit laws that can be dunked on any situation to make all the vibes crystal clear. But FRFR, we got mad different vibes here. Finding those big brain cheat codes in economics is tough because all the rizzed up factors are hella tricky to suss out on their own. In addition, the XP that's stacked since the start of so-called big brain human history has, famously, been super influenced and clapped by causes that ain't just about the grind or the bag. FRFR, most of the major Ohios in history got their clout through mogging. The conquering squads set themselves up, legally and economically, as the alpha class of the mogged country. They yoinked all the land for themselves and made a squad of priests from their own homies. The priests, the OG influencers, turned class division into the ultimate lifetime sub and set up an elite tier value system that folks were basically, without even realizing, vibed with as NPCs. But historic Phantom tax is, so to speak, of yesterday. Nowhere have we really mogged what Kai Cenat called the predatory phase of human leveling up. The observable edgelord facts belong to that phase, and even such laws we can derive from them are not applicable to other skeeby phases. Since the real purpose of socialism is to mog and then giga-riz past the beta phase of human development, economic science in its beta state can throw little light on the Sigma socialist society of tomorrow. Second, socialism is about leveling up the social game. Science, though, can't give you goals or riz. Science can only hand out the hacks and cheats to get those goals. But the goals themselves come from giga-rizzlers with mad ethical auras and, if these goals aren't total L, but full-on W, are picked up and rocked by those NPCs who, half AFK, push the society meta forward. For these reasons, we gotta be on guard not to overhype science and scientific methods when talking human problems. And we shouldn't assume only the experts got clout to yap about society's vibes. Innumerable voices been yapping that we living in a crisis, and society's riz has been shattered, people feeling mad beta or hostile toward their squads, no matter the size. To show my meaning, let me drop a real-life skeeby moment. So I was yapping with a high-aura dude about the threat of another war, which no cap would wreck us all, and I said only a supranational squad could protect us from that. Then this Geiga Chad chill-aff hits me with, "Why you so pressed about the human race going yeet?" Bet a century ago, no one would be yapping like this. This is a Sigma who's been edging forever, trying hard but can't get that jelk balance, and now he's low-key lost hope. It's the big sad vibes from being a loner, just like everyone else these days. What's the reason? Is there a riz way out? It's easy to drop these banger questions, but hard to riz up the answers with any drip. I gotta try, though, as best I can, even though I know our feels and grinds are often sus and cryptic, and can't just be served up in simple Phantom tax formulas. Man is, simultaneously, a Sigma and a Rizzler. As a Sigma, he seeks to protect his own goon caves and that of his closest Ohio gang, to satisfy his personal edging streaks, and to level up his innate riz. As a Rizzler, he seeks to gain the clout and gaiat of fellow gooners, to share in their grimace shakes, to comfort them in their Phantom tax, and to mog their lives to the max. Only the mix of these chaotic, often yapping strivings gives someone their unique riz, and the specific combo determines how much a person can achieve that Sigma vibe and contribute to the overall gaiat of society. It's hella possible that the strength of these two vibes is mostly fixed by inheritance. But the gooner genes are hella shaped by the environment where a dude happens to edge during his glow-up, by the structure of the skibidi society where he grows up, by the tradition of that squad, and by its hype of particular types of shenanigans. The abstract concept society means to the Rizzler is the sum total of all his duos and squads with his contemporaries, and all those ancient gooners. The solo Sigma can edge, mog, and skibidi on his own, but he depends so much on society, in his physical, intellectual, and emotional grind that you can't even think of him or get his riz outside the phantom tax of society. It's society that gives a Sigma his gayat, drip, a crib, the gamer tools, yapping, the latest memes, and most of the biting yaps. His vibe is possible through the gooning and the stacked riz of the millions of NPCs past and present who are all hidden behind the small word, society. It's clear, Av, that being dependent on society is pure fact. Just like ants and bees, yo. But while ants and bees are hardwired by instinct to skibidi their whole lives, the social vibe and interactions in us humans are hella flex and always changing. Memory, the riz to make new combos, the gift of yapping has made possible some goated developments among us that aren't just basic biology stuff. These developments show up in traditions, vibes, and squads, in lit literature, in 300 IQ science and engineering flexes, in goon art. This explains how it happens that, in a certain sense, a giga-chad can riz up his life through his own mewing, and in this process, conscious yapping and craving can play a part. Man spawns with a default loadout, inheriting natural urges straight rizzed from the human species. But, throughout his XP grind, he levels up a cultural build, adapting vibes from society through yapping and other pogger influences. It's this cultural vibe that's subject to nerfs and buffs over time, deciding how much riz and mogging he flexes on others. Modern anthro-rizology has shown us, through comparison of primitive Ohio cultures, that social yapping of humans can totally differ depending on the cultural riz and mogging types of society. It's on this that those rizzlers aiming to W-mog humanity can base their hopes. We ain't doomed, 'cause of our bio-build, to wreck each other, or be at the mercy of a cruel, self-inflicted grimace shake. If we vibe check society and how we can ski-biddy our culture to make life lit AF, we gotta remember there are some conditions that are un-ski-biddy, like humans be humans, no cap. Plus, all that tech and population boom from the past few centuries are here to stay. No gayat about it. In mega-crowded squads with must-have loot that's key for survival, mad specialization and a boss-level central grind setup are totally required. The vibes, which, no cap, seem so chill, are gone forever when solo chads or small squads could go full lone wolf. It's only a tiny overhype to say that mankind is basically now a global goon squad of production and consumption. I have now reached the point where I can skibidi about the essence of the cringe of our time. It's all about the vibe between the individual and society. The Rizzler has become more woke than ever about his dependence on the squad. But he doesn't vibe this dependence as W-Rizzy, as an organic squad goal, as a protective aura, but rather as a threat to his Sigma rights, or even to his economic grind set. Moreover, his clout in society is such that his alpha egotistical vibes are constantly getting buffed, while his social riz, which are naturally beta, progressively decay. All humans, no matter their clout level, are feeling this decay. Unknowingly prisoners of their own Sigma egos, they feel beta, lonely, and robbed of that naive, simple, skibidi enjoyment of life. Man can find riz in life, short and yapped as it is, only through devoting himself to society. The economic chaos of this capitalist society as it exists today is, in my humble opinion, the real sauce of evil. We see before us a mega community of grinders and members, all non-stop trying to deprive each other of the fruits of their collective grind. Not by force, but mostly while staying respectful of legally edged rules. In this respect, it's key to realize that the means of production, like the whole setup for making stuff peeps want to buy, as well as capital goods, can legally be, and mostly are, owned by private individuals, fam. For the sake of simplicity, in this yapping I shall call workers all those who don't have the riz to own the grind factory, although this doesn't quite gayat the usual vibes. The owner of the grind factory is in a position to purchase the labor power of the worker. By hitting the factory grind, the worker goons new goods that get swiped by the capitalist overlord. The big skee-bee here is the riz between what the worker grinds out and the dimes he bags, both stacked in terms of real drip. Insofar as the grind contract is free, what the worker receives ain't determined by the actual worth of his drip, but by his bare minimum needs and by the capitalist's requirements for grind power in relation to the number of other gooners competing for the gig. It's key to get that even in theory, the worker's bag ain't linked to the value of his grind. Private capital tends to get mogged into few hands, partly cause of alpha competition, and partly cause tech development and increasing division of labor boost up bigger grind factories while clapping smaller ones. The result of these developments is an alpha squad of private capital, the gigachad power of which can't be checked even by a simp society running on democracy vibes. This is absolute facts, because the members of legislative squads get picked by political parties, mostly bankrolled or influenced by wallet whales who, no cap, put a wall between the voters and the lawmakers. The T is that the reps of the people don't actually vibe with the interests of the down-bad gang. Plus, in the current sitch, private capitalists totally run, both high-key and low-key, the main info plugs, press, radio, education. Thus, it's hella tough, and probs grinding on impossible mode, for the average NPC to come to objective conclusions and use his political rights in a big-brain way. The sitch in an economy full send on private capital ownership is all about two things. First, the gear, capital, is like privately owned, and the owners do whatever they want with it. Second, the grind contract is free. Of course, there's no such thing as a pure capitalist-pilled society. TBH, let's not forget that the workers, through long and bitter yapping battles, have barely managed to level up the free grind contract for some of the worker squad. But NGL, the present-day economy doesn't differ much from full-on Sigma grindset capitalism. Production is all about the bag, not for use. No W guarantee that all those who want to grind and ready to know life are gonna find a gig. An army of jobless broke boys almost always exists. The worker is constantly in fear of losing his gig. Since jobless and low-riz workers don't bring those fat stacks, the drip of consumer goods gets nerfed, and massive L's follow. Tech gains often just mean more jobless peeps instead of making the grind easier for everyone. Dat profit chase, along with the capitalist's grind, causes unstable vibes in the stacking and using of cash, leading to big uffs like crazy depressions. Unlimited competition leads to a huge waste of grind, and to that crippling of the social aura of individuals, which I yapped about before. This crippling of individuals I consider the biggest L of capitalism. Our whole school system gets oofed by this L. An over-the-top competitive Sigma grindset is drilled into students who are trained to simp for clout as a prep for their future grind. I am dead-ass sure there's only one way to yeet these big yikes, namely by creating a socialist economy paired with an educational system that vibes with social goals. In this skee-bee economy, the grindset tools are owned by the whole squad and are used in a planned AF way. A planned economy, which levels up production to the needs of the crew, would distribute the grind to those able to grind and guarantees a W livin' to every short king, guyat queen, and lil bro. The edumacation of the individual, besides boosting his natural riz, would attempt to develop in him positive aura for his fellow gooners, in place of the glorification of mogging and clout chasing in our present society. Nevertheless, gotta remember that a planned economy isn't yet skibidi socialism. A planned economy alone might just lead to complete NPC life. Achieving that rizzed-up socialism needs solving some giga-sweaty socio-political problems. How can we stop the bureaucratic overlords from mega-mogging everyone with their power? How can we make sure individuals keep their riz rights and not get yeeted into the void? Clear riz on the goals and issues of skibidiism is top tier in our era of doom scrolling. 'Cause, let's be real, nowadays open yapping about these probs is mad sus. I think the launch of this mag is a big W for the people.